Why yes, I will dig my heels in over your username, by usernaldstuff_192. Holy shit dude. Somebody tried to put the screws on me to stop using backslashes, in usernames because it's too hard. Let me explain. All our workstations are RDS desktops on an AD domain. As the Windows sysadmins here are probably aware, the convention for usernames is often domain name /username. Way back before my time, when the company was smaller, my predecessor decided to use the user's email as an alias for their username, such that a user could log in using either useremail@domainname.com or domain name /username. The rationale being that it would be one less piece of information the users have to remember. Sometime after I took over a few years ago, I decided to stop setting this alias because it was causing confusion on a few levels. First, I was getting calls about email not working when what they meant, as it turned out, was that they couldn't log on for some reason. Second, as the company grew, there were more and more cases of RDS users with emails different from their login creds. e.gstrble/lemmiwinks uses email logistics at xgerbil.com, and this was causing confusion, especially if Lemmiwinks suddenly switched roles and now needed his own email and didn't use logistics anymore. To summarize, no more mixing apples and oranges. Email addresses are email addresses, usernames are usernames. I didn't cancel the alias for users who already were there. Just stopped setting it up for new users, so they'd be used to this convention from the start. Due to turnover and new hires, I'd say by now about 80% of the company uses the new username convention. Certain users, not burdened by an overabundance of schooling, cannot wrap their heads around the fact that there is, in fact, a key above the enter key that they were not aware of. People multiple years in the company who had their username defaulted on their PC would suddenly need to manually type in their username for whatever reason and would call me and need me to explain to them what / was and where it was on the keyboard. Roll eyes, move on. I'm paid to answer dumb questions. The head of purchasing, the charming character from this post, she eventually did resume regular communication, to my dismay, has a couple new hires, and they, predictably, got usernames according to the new convention. She has one of the old usernames, and was extremely irate that I had deliberately mixed eldritch symbols into her workers' usernames, just to piss her off. Why are these usernames so complicated? They never work right. Why aren't they like the emails? I stopped doing that years ago, people were getting confused. This is how it works now. I don't care. I want my department to have emails as usernames. You can't. This is how it works now. We're not programmers. The slash never works. It's a / above your enter key. Change it back. That's it, I'm calling, CEO. You may notice, dear reader, that this individual does not sound entirely rational. You'd be correct. See the post I mentioned, you'll get the picture. You also may notice that I failed to inform her that I could alias her usernames however she wants. This was a matter of principle. Why the hell should I make an exception for her department over something so trivial? It's right there on the keyboard for fuck's sake. What's next? Having to spell check everyone's emails? Learn to type a goddamn /. I'm not just being petty. This human-ass blister demands changes to the system at multiple levels regularly, and I've learned from painful experience to be extremely skeptical of the necessity or utility of what she asks. She's not always wrong, but frequently she's just frustrated and throwing a tantrum. I should mention that we are roughly equal in the organizational hierarchy, 1 or 2 degrees separated from the CEO, depending on how you look at it. Now, the CEO is about as clueless as she is about tech, but whereas I can butt heads with her, contradicting him requires a little more nuance. And by nuance, I of course mean bullshitting. The following conversation was actually an email chain between the three of us, but I'm going to format it like a group chat. Let's call the CEO and the head of purchasing HP. HP, u/nooldstuff_192, I'm asking you to urgently change the usernames for my department back to the way they've always been. This new username convention is causing problems for my department. CEO, u/nooldstuff_192, what's going on? Me, HP is flying off the handle again. Her, and your, usernames are using an older format that I stopped using because it was causing problems. All new users since 2022 have a new kind of username that doesn't cause these problems. HP is complaining because this new format has / in it, which she can't find on the keyboard. 80% of the company has been using this format without any problems for 3 years. I've told her multiple times that this is the key above the enter key, and now she wants me to break the whole company's logins instead of learning a new character. It's not even her account, it's her worker's account. CEO, can you make an exception for her department? Really, dude? You're going to even entertain this? Me? Nope. Won't work. Everybody would have to switch usernames, there's the bullshit. CEO, HP, deal with it. Print a picture of the key and hang it above your desk if you have to. I'm seriously considering framing a picture of a keyboard with the backslash highlighted and sending it to her office. Edit, a lot of questions from actual admins about why things are set up this way. I glossed over some details that were not relevant to the story. There's an MSP involved here, they have their own reasons for doing things the way they do. Maybe not good ones, but reasons. I have local domain admin privs but I don't provision licenses, the MSP does and we pay per license. Hence, Lemmiwinks the logistics gerbil getting only his logistics mailbox and not a personal one he wouldn't use. Some commenters took my excuse to the CEO as my actual reason for not doing as I was being told. There is no technical reason why people can't log in with their emails. I decided to put a stop to it because my idiot users were conflating unrelated things and bothering me about it, and because of the issue of changing roles and mailboxes. Removing that degree of freedom from the users resulted in a net decrease in calls. And holy shit, the mere thought of letting them log in with a username that looks like an email but isn't actually an email gives me heartburn. God, the confusion that would cause. Edit 2, fixed the backslash thing, sorry. I only use old.reddit and couldn't see the problem. Edit 3, MSP runs the AD, not me. Well, guess you can't now, by user Krichthajik. Many years ago, I was brought on board to run the IT department of a mid-sized, privately held company. Main application was ERP running on a mid-range system, as /400B50 if you care. These were the green screen days, and someone had spent probably way too long to make a login screen with the company logo, 2 initials, in ASCII. The head of accounting, make that the head of accounting, had the happy habit of cancelling other departments' jobs if she felt hers weren't running fast enough. Yep, someone/sometime gave her full system operator's privileges. And she'd kill inquiries, MRP runs, reports, all without any notices. After about the 5th time of cleaning up the wreckage in her wake, I took away her special privileges. She had them for years before I came on board. And a shouting match ensued. Followed by an angry march up to the president's office. President called and I explained the situation, over his speakerphone, with her running commentary in the background. He sounded truly beaten down and told me just give it back to her. Fine, fine, fine. About a month later, IT spent the weekend upgrading the base OS. Everyone was well warned and, in the process, the cutesy ASCII logo went away, replaced by factory default login screen, so everyone knew we had changed something. And, what? Accounting head could not kill jobs anymore, hey, must be a side effect of the OS upgrade, sorry. No, it wasn't, we just took the opportunity of the visual change to remove her privileges. I finally threw out that box, by user smashing baby. It's springtime, and with Passover right around the corner, the missus got into clean mode. Which unfortunately also included my home office, and the box. You know which one, the one with years of old, unused cables, USB 1.0, VGA, PS/2, Firewire RJ11 cable, an obsolete zip drive, mystery power adapters, and my personal favorites, some RCA connectors. You name it, I probably had it. I'm sitting there thinking to myself, this whole thing is covered in dust and hasn't been opened in years. So feeling productive, I tossed the whole thing, to my wife's delight. Fast forward 3 days, Grandma calls me, needing help with her ancient fax machine. She still faxes things to her doctor and gets faxes back, but for some reason they're not going through. Took me a bit to figure it out, but the RJ11 cable had been folded in on itself for a couple years too long and had probably frayed, leading to intermittent connectivity. There I am, browsing Amazon to buy the very thing I'd just tossed not even last week. Lesson learned? Obsolete tech will never, ever really die. And the kicker? The replacement RJ11 cost more than I want to admit for something I had sitting in a box literally for years. Use my story of misfortune to teach your spouses why they must never toss the box. You are in the middle of a SAR operation? Don't care, by user Hungry Cheek 3994. A little bit of context beforehand. For the past 8 years, I've been working as an IT tech in a MRCC, which is a Maritime Rescue Coordination Center. Basically, we coordinate all search and rescue operations, SAR, in our maritime area of responsibility, so we deal with literal human life and people can die if we screw up badly enough. A few years ago, I had the displeasure of having a young man to train so that IT wouldn't be a one-person job anymore. We'll call him Void, because that's what he had in between his 2 ears. Void did not learn anything in the year and a half he graced us with his presence. I could teach him something one day, ask him if he had understood, even make him do some exercises, he would have forgotten the next day, if not sooner. But Void was convinced he was the best thing to happen to tech support since the invention of shortcuts. Anyway, that day Void was tasked to swap out screens in the operational workstations. Now, these workstations are of course manned 24/7 because an emergency can arise at any moment, so we cannot swap screen after everybody has come home, because it doesn't happen. What happens in this case is we either just let the person working at this workstation take a break while we are working on it, put the person on another workstation a few meters away, not very practical in case of an emergency because these are teams of 2 people whose workstations are next to each other so they can communicate verbally easily, but manageable for a few hours if needed, or put up a workstation from our stock if we need to work on the hardware, like swap out HDD and such. What we not do however, is touch the workstation or anything attached to it, like, for example, screens, if a SAR operation is underway, unless explicitly asked. I'm pretty sure at this point you all have understood what happened. An operation was underway, but Void has this God-given task to do, swap out the old screens and replace them with new ones, so he began to unconnect the first screen. Of course, the operator working at the workstation stopped him to ask him what in the ever-loving hell he was doing. Well, I am swapping out the screens. You absolute buffoon, didn't you see we are in the middle of an operation and we need all of our screens? Of course, this was met with silence and an air of incomprehension from Void. What do you mean the operational workstations are no touchy, during an actual operation? He was never asked to do anything relating to operational workstations alone ever again. HR and Fire Detectors, by user Krichthajik. Same company as this story. The IT department, actually they called it Missway back then, was on the lower/ground floor. The floor plan was offices, hallway, my office with glass wall, IT bullpen, my guys, another glass wall, computer room, another glass wall, hallway, more offices. So from my desk, I could look all the way through to the other side of the building. You could get into the computer room from either end if you had a card to swipe at the door. Nobody other than IT had those cards. Or so I thought. Sitting there mid-morning one day, pounding away on my keyboard and some movement caught my eye. Looking through my window, across the bullpen and through the computer room, I see the expletive deleted HR manager and some guy carrying what looks like a leaf blower. I'm rather p.od the HR had a card I didn't know about and just walked in there. They were looking at the ceiling and the guy raised the leaf blower and... Oh crap! That's a smoke wand and the idiots are checking the detectors. I vaulted over my desk, ran through the bullpen and into computer room just in time. Here a IBM 4361 mainframe, AS400B50, Spark file server, Novel file server, ROM phone switch end, 3, T1 muxes, for data/voice to the remote plants, all winding down to dead silence. We didn't have a halon system in there, thank the powers, but the smoke detectors killed the big UPS and all power in the room. The HR guy and the other just stood there, eyes wide, mouths open with the patented what just happened, look. And, with the glass walls, a bunch of other department managers, who came to see what happened, stood there and greatly enjoyed watch me jump up and down, ranting and raving at those two.